You're listening to the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast, episode 170, where today I'm breaking down my first wholesale deal that I just completed this past week. So, my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'm documenting my journey in real estate and business, and also I'm bringing on high-level investors to share their stories about how they built their businesses. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at chris.rickenbaugh. That's chris.reichen.BACH. And if you're listening to this podcast, stay right where you are and give me a thumbs up, a like, or a comment to show that you're listening. And that's the only way we can promote this podcast. So it means the world to me that you like, share, and subscribe. So let's hop into the deal. So this is a deal breakdown. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit shorter because it's not so much meat content, but there's going to be another deal breakdown because today I actually just sold one of my flips and lost a little bit of money on it, but you're going to have to tune into that episode to figure out how and the why. So for this deal, I was, looking for different opportunities. So looking for different flips, and I started calling different real estate agents and saying, hey, I see you have a property listed for sale. It's been on the market for a while. Like, what's going on with it? So I started doing that, and I came across this guy who said, hey, but this property isn't for you, but I do have another property over here that does need some work, and they'd be open to selling it off market, maybe a little bit cheaper than they could get it on market. And I said, okay, let me take a look at it. So I walked the house, came up with my number, and I said, okay, well, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, so I want to go find a buyer right away because I know what I'm going to be able to offer. I just want to know if somebody would take it at that number. So that's what I started doing, and that was one of my first mistakes that I did because if I find a good deal, I've flipped houses now, I know how to run the numbers, I need to be able to lock up this property and then be able to figure out how to dispo it. Because one of the things is I could buy this house if I really wanted to. And so being able to back up the funds to be able to purchase it, the hard money lender was able to go on it. So in the worst case scenario, if I wasn't able to dispo this house, I could go then buy it myself and not have to back out or renegotiate the contract for longer term. So instead what I did on this one, which isn't recommended, I was trying to find a buyer. So I was shooting it out to my people, and that's where the mistakes lead up because I was marketing a property they didn't have under contract. So that's lesson learned for the next time. And so we did end up finding a couple people that were interested who wanted to be able to walk it and said, hey, we're interested right around that number. And based on some of the negotiations or in the original phone call, we had in our notes, hey, that the roof was replaced 5 years ago. So this will come up a little bit later. So eventually when we found that buyer, he's like, hey, I'm good at that number. Let's go ahead and lock it up. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to go get it under contract first. And that's where the mistake came in because I was marketing the property incorrectly. So lesson learned for the next time. But I was able to get that property under contract for a lower price. It was a couple thousand higher than what I offered, but they were selling it at a discounted price, and we had somebody at the original price, just about a $10,000 spread. So we were able to then get this under contract with the seller and then with the new buyer. And then from there, they went in, did their inspections, they got their renovation budget, and we were able to, we got a licensed inspector in there who said, hey, the house looks pretty solid, but you're going to need to replace this roof. And that's where we said, what do you mean? We said the roof was replaced 5 years ago. Like, it should be in pretty solid condition. But the problem was there's been hailstorms in that area, and they were, I guess the hail really, really hit hard, and it pretty much destroyed the roof. So there were holes in it. There was a lot of mold in the roof, some water leaking, and then pretty much all the shingles needed to be able to be replaced along with some damaged trusses. So lots of damage from this hailstorm that they had no idea about. So we came back to them and said, hey, we found a ton of this damage when you said it was done this period, and it's like, hey, we're going to have to ask for a price reduction because we didn't even budget anything close to this number to be able to deal with this roof. And we're asking for, it's about $10,000 to be able to fix, but I'm only asking for $7,500 price reduction. So, of course, they denied it. They said they wanted to see pictures. We showed them pictures, and they said, you know what? Even with these problems, we're not going to be negotiating on price. Either you take it or we're going to list it. So we said, all right, we know we're making our spread anyway. Our buyer is still solid at that number. So let's go ahead and finish the deal. So that is how we ended up selling the property. I was able to find another investor who had the connections to be able to find the end buyer. So that's what we call a JV deal. And now it wasn't a specific JV deal, but what we would have done is, split the profits from that wholesale deal. In this case, he was, kind enough to be able to let us use his company to be able to do that, and we were able to sell that. But the lesson learned is that, if I get a number that I like and would be able to buy at, there's more than likely somebody who's going to be able to take it for about $10,000 to $15,000 higher, because I'm running my numbers based off the 70% rule. So super, super low. And then, somebody has different contractors, different connections, different abilities to be able to buy that property at that higher number and still get what they want out of it. So that was probably the biggest thing that I learned from this. But, it was just a really cool, small deal. But, I was able to get my foot in the door with, how this is done, more, contracts, the negotiating, and just be able to experience it for the first time. So super exciting on that side. We were able to get it done, make a small little $5,000 profit, and then move on to the next one. So I mentioned I did sell a property today, and I'm going to break down that on another episode, probably next Monday, and be able to break down exactly what that deal was, what it looked like, and how we ended up losing money on it. So make sure you tune in for that episode. But for today, this is all I got for you. So thank you so much for listening in to the Leadway Wealth Builders podcast. I have a great interview with Tommy McGill, who's a rent-to-own investor in our local Charlotte area. So make sure you tune into that episode for what he's doing, how he's building wealth. So we'll see you on that episode. But for this one, this is Chris Rickenbaugh signing off.